Okay, I think હવે લેજ થોડું. All right, how are you? Okay, so this game what I'm going to teach you today is Slav defense. So this is a game of Slav defense where white is John Homer Stapfer and black is Capablanca. And this game was played in New York, 1934. Okay, I cannot save this control S. I don't know why. Okay, Capablanca, New York, 1934, 1913. Sorry, 1913. So yeah, so the game started uh, like so here in this game started with Knight C4, Knight F6, Knight C3, C6. So the normal moves of Slav defense. So you do know our Slav defense? Next one. Hello.
Not fully. I
Okay.
don't remember it fully, but
Okay.
I
So
guess
in
a little
Queen's
bit.
Gambit we have D4 and D5 and E6. Okay. In
Yes.
Slav we have D5 and C6. That kind of setup is there. All right, and after playing d5, they also play e6, so some kind of triangle will be created here. Anyway, let's move ahead. So normal moves like f3, d5. So if this is comfortable, right? We will be facing Capablanca's side, so you will be guessing the
Yes.
moves of Capablanca, correct? So yeah, so d5 and now e3. So knight f3, e3, and he plays e6. So Capablanca doesn't go for this move. I don't know why, because I will go for this move. But he went here. No, he just plays solidly e6. This is also not a bad system. Like he reserves the option. Like he will play this bishop later. But this is like playing e6. I am not very convinced with his move e6, but anyway, he played it, and opponent replied with d4, and Capablanca replied with knight b d7. So and so uh, here there was some choices of moves, you know, and what will you play? If you are given a choice to play as white.
Um, I would go for e5.
E5. Where you mean here?
Sorry, I was thinking from black's perspective.
Okay. So if you are white, you are playing Staffer. So Staffer here didn't play the correct move, but what I would like to know, what will you play here?
Mm, knight to e5.
Yes. This was the correct move, knight to E5, and this was also good, bishop to D3. All right.
Okay.
And this would have led to the Meran variation. So you can Google it later, like call the Meran variation. Like I will write it down here. Uh, so after this will come Meran variation, not right now, but this will lead to the Meran variation. But like this was the best move, and like if knight pawn takes pawn, then knight takes pawn, and then you can next move play maybe f3 and then f3 and then e4, so you will be getting some solid position here, and it will be a good pawn center. All right, so Yeah. So, but our Mr. John Homer Stapfer didn't play that. He played this move. So this was the main move. And back again to Capablanca. So how will you take the pawn? Like from which pawn will you take it? Or will you take it with the knight, or you will take it with this pawn, this pawn? How will you take it?
I would go with the knight.
No, with the knight, if you take, then he will be getting a very powerful center. See, this is like all these pieces, all the squares are now being control of white. So never surrender the center like this. Okay,
Okay.
so this is also okay, but problem is that there are some variations in which white can take control of b5, or he can play bishop b5. So that's why Capablanca chose this move. Keep this solid. Keep this line as solid. If you are playing Slav, keep this line as solid. Do not move this yet. There will be chance, but not right now. So e takes d5. Another advantage of e takes d5 is that this bishop now will have some air to come out, right? But not right now. So just right now focus on the pawn structure. Immediate move may not be available. Like you cannot play right now this, but yeah, you have made a way, and this is good enough for now. Anyway, so he played. The opponent played bishop d3. So now, what will you play?
I would go with development of with the bishop, the
Two.
dark square bishop, d either d6 or
All right.
d4.
Or d4.
D4, D.
b4. Okay, fine. Capablanca played bishop to d6. Anyway, so he went castle. Now what will you play? So by castle, he signals that next move I will develop this rook, and I may try this move. You know? So he has. So this is the normal course of events. Now what will you play as Capablanca?
I'll go with the castle as well.
Right, castle. Fine. Normal moves. Now he developed his bishop, and he collected his rooks, and maybe next move we will put this here, uh, or maybe here. So, and next move we may put it this here. So let us see what he will do. But for now, he has just removed all the minor pieces from the back rank, and that it will help him to bring out his rooks. Also, this is a good valid file for this rook. Anyway, let's see what will happen. So, what will you do? Like, as you know that he may go for an e4 breakthrough. So, what will you do now as black?
Rook e8.
Yeah, rook e8, rook e8, and white played this move. He further, he's also planning to give the e4 break. Okay, so so now what will you play? Is black?
Um,
Sorry.
I don't see any attack right now, so
Yeah.
maybe I'll try to give some air to bishop.
Okay. So he played this move to prevent e4. Okay. So let's say
Okay.
he like if we do this and he can play now this. So takes. Then he has the good setter control. So he wanted to prevent this. So he anyway prevented e4. Okay, so here now remains to be seen that he white keeps his rook here and he places this rook on e1 square. The threat, same threat. E to play e4. Alright. Play e4. Now, how will you prevent e4 break from? Because if he plays e4, then he has a free game. He doesn't need to worry about opening problems.
Um, I don't see any more direct defenses to prevent e4, but if we can put our knight to c5, then
c5, right? Yeah.
means after we playing c after we play c4 and he goes for an exchange, then we might be able to play with c5.
Okay. How about this one? Directly blocking that.
But when he takes it,
So you have to calculate that. What will happen if he takes it? So let's say he takes it with the knight. So what will happen if he takes it with the knight? Is it advisable to take it with the knight?
no, no.
This move, correct? He can't take because queen will take. So
Um,
he cannot take it with the knight.
a lot of calculation went into this.
No, nothing much. So he cannot take
My
it with the
brain.
knight because there will be a pin. Like both will be like there will be a fork, and both will be under attack. So let's say he takes it with the bishop. Alright. Then I will take this. Now your knight, how many squares it has? This, this, this. Alright. This and this are out of question because it will straight away lose the knight. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay. He cannot come back because anything back is not possible. So you will have to come here. Alright. Now what will you do?
It takes knight.
Yeah. Now,
Bishop takes pawn.
yeah, or queen takes pawn and directly attack here, straight here. And you are up e4, 5, 6. So you are up a pawn, right?
Yes.
So that means in this position, even bishop takes e4 won't work. All right. So looking to all this, Capablanca played knight to e4. He doesn't have to worry about bishop takes e4. He doesn't have to worry about knight takes e4. This was the calculation he made before playing knight to e4. And I expect you will also make similar calculation while playing this. This is a standard position, nothing new. This has been played maybe hundreds of times. So bishop to c1. So what he tries to do is like he tries to save his bishop. He doesn't want to exchange his bishop. He preserves his bishop. Maybe he likes his bishop more, so he preserves it. Anyway, let him preserve the bishop. So he Capablanca solidifies his e4 position by playing knight d2 f6, and this is more solid now on the knight. So next move he can play this move, and maybe try to disrupt the pawn structure here, or black make white to go on defensive with bishop e2. So all these things will come. So white prevents this bishop from coming here. Also it prevents this kind of combination like knight g4 kind of combinations. So he prevents all this with s3. All right, you know about this, right? So this
Yes.
will be like some kind of an attack that he can plan. Anyway, so and this also was there. So that's why he uh, why it stops all these things. Okay. Now here Capablanca played a brilliant move. So you see, what is this called? You know, in chess terminology, what is this called? Like one of the pawn moves ahead. You know, so what is this called in chess terminology? Like middle game terminology. What is it called in pawn structure terminology? What is it called? This pawn. What is it called? So Capablanca actually forced him to play this move, or else he would have played Bishop G4. So, but this is known as a hook. You know,
Rook. Okay.
hook. Yeah. So hook means this will be a center for attack. Like you can put a pawn here, you know, and try to exchange it off, or you know, try to disrupt more the pawn structure with that hook. So you got some target. When this pawn was here, there was no hook to exploit. Now you got a hook. Okay, how you will exploit the hook now?
Um, like in the direct attack or later in the game.
Is you like you are capable, and you have to think what will you do? Will you go directly or will you go slowly, slowly?
Sacrificing right now doesn't help much.
Hmm.
Uh,
All right.
no,
One
I
one
will
more
play to
one more advantage of like what White thought that he will prevent this move. Plus, there is one more like square now also. No, and he is this
for the
bishop
knight.
has gone back. You know, he can play this also. So yeah, so you can also consider these things also. But all these things are like calculation and on board what you see. Like I will put on my knight here, I will put my knight here. But what about the pawn structure? You know, some pawn structure weakness you have created. What about that thing, right? So in order to ward off a short-term problem, White has created a long-term problem for himself by moving this here. Anyway, I will tell you.
But
He
don't
played
we
G5.
like usually create like we usually play?
We play, right? We play,
Yeah,
but
we usually play this mode, don't we?
yeah, yeah, we play that. But we have to be very sure when you play any move, any pawn above the king side. Like if you see this was a bad move, but here this is called a good move, you know, because it tries to exploit the hook, you know. So this party black
Depends
is
upon the
more
situation.
aggressive. Yeah, depends on the situation also. All right. So yeah, yeah, here he played this move, right? So
Hmm.
white played bishop takes e4. Now
Is
his
there any
logic,
background unwanted noise you're facing? Or it's fine because there's a wedding going on in my area.
I can hear a small noise, but not that much that can disturb me.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Okay. So whose wedding is it? Your neighbors? Okay.
I have no idea. We just have a small
Mm,
area like a common plot or something. So
okay.
whenever
Okay.
there's a function, they just use that space.
All right. All right. Anyway, they should have invited you then. Okay. So bishop takes e4. All right. Now, can you play? F takes D. F takes sorry. D takes this one. Move. D5 takes E4. What
Yes.
if I lose this pawn? No.
Um, what if you play then there's no mate, but I think I can play G4 then, knight G4. But if you take my knight, then I take
Okay.
yours.
So simple move. If this he takes this pawn, then I have
Hmm.
H6. Now he has nowhere to go. See, its
Okay.
knight is trapped. So
But we would still lose that h6 pawn by because of the bishop on c1, right?
no, this pawn is here. No? How will you use?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So here you can see the knight has doesn't have anywhere to go. Like it's like you are dressed up for the party and you know where to go. Which party should I? No, there is no party. Sit at home. you know this kind of thing. So this knight is trapped. He is all dressed up and he has nowhere to go.
True.
So playing g5, bishop take f4. If he Capablanca played d takes e5, and Stapfer chose to play knight to h2. You because he cannot play knight takes g5 because of h6. So he has to go back. Now comes the moment to exploit the hook. How will you do that?
Exploiting the whole. Go with g4.
Yes, g4. So, he will he tries to exploit the hook. Let's say he tries to take this. So you can play this, check, and now next move, bishop queen h4, right? Or maybe queen g5. So all both are very powerful moves. So it will be disastrous for white to take this pawn. Let's say he doesn't take this pawn. He plays h4 move. All right. Then how will you win then if he doesn't take your pawn?
Then I'll go deeper with g3.
G3. Okay. G3. Bishop G3. Let's say he saves his rook from slaughter. Then D6. Attack on this pawn. This sorry knight in D6. And now this knight all doesn't have anywhere to go again. This knight is lost.
Yep. Yep.
So H4 also doesn't help, poor Stefan. So what will Stefan do, with G4? So he played E2, preventing G3.
g4. g3.
Yeah, and so now you have to think like you cannot play G3. Now what will you do? Like how will you further create problems for White's pawn structure? Try to disrupt him.
G takes h3.
Yeah, good. All right. So you took the pawn. Okay. And obviously, if I take your pawn back, you will play bishop takes h3, and of course, I will lose my exchange. So naturally, I won't be taking it back. No, like g takes h3, I will be putting g3 instead. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, it is a very troublesome this pawn for me. And but what should I do? Like if I take this, then you will take it with the bishop, and I will lose my rook. So I cannot afford to do that. Anyway, so now if you see now, one more hook is created, which is the new hook to exploit
G3.
g3, right? How will you now harass that like hook? How will you exploit that hook now?
Knight h5.
Knight h5. No, no, just h5, right?
Okay.
Yeah, h5. Yeah, this is also fine, but why to like give a sacrifice and all that? Just play positionally. This will be done. Like if we will take this, then this will be under pressure. The g3 will square will be too much under pressure after playing h4. Anyway, so and as you can see, this is a open file now. And there could be a possibility that he can attack and everything. So and so what white tries to do is like he wants this rook to come here, so that he can safeguard his interest. All right, so he plays king h1.
King is so open and unprotected, but still white can't do anything.
Yeah, so he tries to bring it here so that he can protect his g3, because g3 is now a hook, so he has to
Hmm.
protect that. Okay, so
Okay.
so that's why he moves it here so that he can bring his rook under defensive duties. Anyway, Capablanca also moves his rook king here. Reason what he wants to do, why he played this.
I'm sorry, what? Internet lag.
Yeah. So in response, you seen that, right? King h1 is because he wants to play rook g1. This move,
Yes.
right? And I can say rook g1 so that he can protect his this rook g3 pawn, right? So now you will have a g3 defenders. This is a g3 defender. This is a g3 defender. This is also g3 defender when he comes to g1. So it has to defend. And Capablanca also played king h8. Okay, why he played king h8? To bring this rook here.
Rook
Correct?
to G8.
Yeah. So he can attack the hook here. Okay, so it all like as you can see, pawn structure is dictating the terms here. Alright, so king h8. Now white moves here, black moves here, and white starts a new, like he has to bring his bishop out. So what he thinks that let me bring my bishop here, maybe, or uh, let me do something like I cannot make any good moves here. Maybe he can place his knight here as another defender for the g3, but yeah, he tries to play actively. He tries to bring his bishop out, so he plays b3. Capablanca plays this knight to d5. Now, why he played this knight to d5? Can you tell me?
Knight to D5.
Mhm. He played knight to b5 because let's me give you a hint that I cannot play a3 here because my bishop and queen both are watching the e3. So
Hmm.
that's the reason he played knight to d5. But why?
So that g4 won't come.
No. See, he played knight to d5 because this will be a tempo on the queen next move. He cannot, white cannot prevent this because of the battery
He
here
loses
between
on
here.
that.
And after this, he can plant his knight on the sixth rank. This, see, the queen will have to move in this move, and then he can plant his knight here. This was the idea. When knight is on e f6, Capablanca thinks of putting it here, you know,
And to d3.
d3. And yeah, and let's see what white can do about it. So white saw this, that he can at the last, I cannot prevent Capablanca from coming to b4 at, no, because I cannot play a3. That is not possible. But let me place my knight here, so that the d3 is protected now, right?
Okay.
So that's a good defensive plan by white, that he protects his d3 square.
What if we go for an exchange? Will that be advisable?
No, no, not advisable. Capablanca develops his last piece. Where he should develop? Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm. No idea. We can
Because
still go with that b4.
I will tell you. Like, let's say you played bishop takes f4, right?
Uh,
And let's
uh,
say he this hook is gone now. No, he can take this. And then he takes rook. Then king takes rook, and then this rook will come with a check. You are giving him an extra move,
uh,
correct?
yes.
So not advisable. So first of all, uh, so these small things you will learn, no, in this game.
So
No. So now, where should he keep this? How should he develop his last piece? Like he wants to develop this bishop, man. Will you help Capablanca to develop his bishop? Like he needs your help.
I wish you did.
Okay, he places the bishop here. Hmm. Bishop to g4, and now white plays the bishop to d2, and now you can see, now he takes the this
Knight.
knight, yeah, and he takes it with the e pawn. He maybe thinks that I will put my rook is here, and I can exploit that. This pin. Like if you see now, this queen is attacking, and this rook is attacking the thing. Okay,
Yep.
so Capablanca has to defend that pawn with rook a8. Alright, so now all his pieces are developed, and that too on aggressive and good squares compared to white. Like if you see, this
Okay.
bishop has no future. Like he is like very like, what is his life's purpose? I don't know.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Even knight has no
this
purpose.
this his life purpose is to, you know it was to prevent these diseases, but now what he's doing here, I don't know. This yeah, this is a good piece. No, it is actually is doing something. It is pinning this pawn with the queen. This knight also like can move here. Maybe you should try to think on these lines. So but like if you compare the piece quality, then I believe that black has a better piece quality compared to white. you know.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, the bishop came here, bishop to e3. Finally, now Capablanca continues with his plan. Knight to b4, queen d2. But now he doesn't play knight to d3 sudden, like immediately. He first gives d8. Yeah? So he develops his rook on a active like if you compare here, that pin was there and the pawn was under attack, so that's why he had to come here. So but that was not a very aggressive position. Now this is an aggressive position, like we are doing some pressure on this pawn.
Yes.
All right, so now here white saw that my pawn is under attack. It can be under attack anytime because it's pinned by the rook. Let me move my queen, but where should I move the queen? So he thinks that if I move my queen here, it will be very good because it will be under the line of fire. No, my I will be aiming at the black king.
Hmm.
I might conjure up some combination after that. But problem is, if I immediately do that, then knight takes pawn, and again I will have to move my queen, no? And I will lose a pawn as well. So
Yes.
I cannot do it immediately, right? So
Hmm.
white, this rook wasn't doing anything much, so he put him to use like defensive duties. So he plays it here. Maybe next move he wants to place it here. So rook to e to a1. Now if you like as you know, now this is pin, so this square is free for us. We can put
Yes.
something here, so let's put something here, c5, and white continues with his plan, like to play pawn takes pawn. Correct.
Hmm.
Correct. All right. So if he gives a check, then it's a check, and I have to move my queen. But what if you know, I give the queen a check? Like he cannot give a check to me right now because his queen is under attack. So I will put it my rook queen here. Sorry, my knight there. But if you see this, this is actually also sacrifice. Like if you see, after when he played queen to c3, he was also giving a threat on the c5 pawn, right? So next move he was planning to take this,
Hmm.
with queen takes c5. But Capablanca here gives a pawn sacrifice. That is the main thing to note. So he plays knight to d5, and Stapfer immediately takes the pawn sacrifice. Okay, so Capablanca sacrificed a pawn with his last move. Like this was a sacrifice.
Hmm.
So that he can penetrate on the seventh rank, of white, because he considers that when this pawn is on h3, this is an asset. So I will put my rook on seventh rank. I will show you how. Just wait a couple of moves. So after some exchanges, so what he realized is like the rook on the seventh rank, and the pressure of his bishop and the rook pawn. So these things he relies on for this sacrifice. So this is a positional sacrifice, you can even say. There is not a thing like a tactical. He gives the sacrifice so that he can put his rook on the seventh rank. Queen takes queen, pawn takes queen, and knight takes bishop. Because this bishop was a bit active now, so he takes it. Pawn takes knight, and now, so all these exchanges were forced. There was no way that any exchange would have been avoided. Knight takes bishop, that pawn takes, and now you can see right? So the rook
Yes.
is on seventh rank,
Seventh rank.
right? So let's say he wants to drive off this rook, so he plays this move, and he says that okay, I have protected my this pawn, and I am also attacking you. But what is the flaw in this move?
Bishop f3.
Bishop f3, right? So this will be game over for white. So he cannot play knight to f1. Now, so what is like a threat? You can say, So threat is like he wants to develop his d8 here. No, so let me insert some null moves, like just an idea. Don't take it as a variation, but this is just
Yeah.
an idea that what should be the white's threat. So let me enter null move. Let's say he plays rook d8, then rook cut h2. This king takes h2. So now this will be a variation now. Mm, King cut h2, and now what will be the
Rook d2.
rook c, rook d2. Then going back, rook
Bishop
h1,
f3.
rook f3, and he has to put the rook here. Rook takes g2, and let's say he attacks the bishop here. Not much is left, but let me play on like rook d1,
Rook.
rook d2 check, and let's say he moves his, but this will be h2 mate. Okay, so
Okay.
this was the
Okay.
thing. If white is not careful, then these things may come. No? Anyway, so this bishop is a threat. No? So white removes this threat by rook takes bishop. Sorry, knight takes bishop. And but still, if you see h3 is there, the rook is here. It's behind the sparse pawns. He can come. So still, there is too much of left. Game is left here, and of course, if you remove everything here, the pawns are see so much advanced. He has a lost king and pawn endgame also. Even if you exchange all the pieces, then also your king and pawn endgame you will win. As black. Anyway, so he plays rook d1, and so that he can counter it. Like if I move my rook, then he can get some pathway inside my camp, and he himself will start giving some threat. So Capablanca prevents this. Rook d8, rook d2. So one pair of rooks are exchanged, and he plays b4. All right, now what will you play? Is there are many good moves. Now we will come into a classic Capablanca situation where there are many good moves. So what will you play now? Three versus two. No, so there is three versus two on the queen side.
We can go for the pawns by playing rook g2.
Rook to g2. Yeah, you can. No, but let's say he will. He can play this move,
Then we
and
have
then
a pawn.
then he can play some pawn kind of breakthrough here. This is what you have to prevent. So don't give any chances right now.
Yep.
Or he can also play
Then
a4, and then he can try to get a breakthrough here. He has a
then
pawn
we'll
here.
take those pawn out
a6.
the first thing. So
Yeah.
b2.
So this is the move. Let's Kavarenka played a6. He just stops. Any kind of thing. Now,
Can
uh,
we play rook b2 as well?
we we can, but let's say b2, then yeah, we can, no problem. We can play h3, all right, and then we can remain here, but then this rook can move out, you know. But this is also fine. Like he can win like this also, no problem.
Okay.
Like, but I think he should actually stop, like make it difficult for white to get this pawn exchange, you know. So a6 was, I believe, better move. A6. Anyway, now as you know, this rook is this pawn is being defended by this rook. Okay, so if you actually keep on waiting, you know, then it may happen that your like, let's say he plays this move, then I can play this move. So now this pawn is gone. Like I cannot play this because now there is no scope. So white thought that let me try this move, no? Rook b1. So he plays rook b1, or if he waits, then what will happen is that this king will come in the endgame and either to c4 or c3, and then he will eventually lose. So because his king is not going to come very soon, because his king is stuck because of the rook on the seventh rank. You know? This rook on 7th rank is watching over the king, he's watching over this pawn, many things he's watching. So let the pawn go away. You know, you should also not worry about the pawn, you should worry some counterplay you should get. Anyway, so this is gone. And Stapfer then, you know, tries to achieve some counterplay. A takes b5, rook takes b5. Now what will you do? Like there are many good moves, but which one do you think will Capablanca play?
Rook to a3.
Rook to a3.
a3.
Yeah, that is also fine. But let's say you do a pawn snatching on the king side, okay? And he takes this pawn, and now he has a queen side one pawn, which is very dangerous because it's far, the most farthest from your king is this pawn, you know.
Hmm.
So that's why Capablanca played rook to c2 first. No, he gives up this pawn in exchange of this pawn. No, so that this position is secured. So he takes c7, b7. Rook takes b7. Now, if you see, this pawn is under attack. So he has to first play this move. And now white goes for pawn snatching. Like he wants to take this pawn now. All right. So Capablanca takes this pawn. He takes this pawn. Pawns are equal now. If you see, pawns are equal. So now what will you play as black? You lost a pawn.
Uh, he can still go f5. No?
Yeah, he can. But there is a better move. Rook c1 check. Only one move. Rook c2 check. Two moves are there. But he played this move because this move will give h2 check. So he played this move. And now rook to g2. Now we cannot prevent that pawn from falling. Also, you are worried about the g4 pawn's defense. The rook will handle that. No problem. Anyway, so black thought that white thought that let me put here and then I will give a check, you know, and try to take this pawn. Maybe get it behind because this pawn will fall, so he cannot take the pawn. But let me get behind this pawn so that it's very tough for black to then promote his these two pawns. You know, so that was his plan. So how will you prevent that plan?
Uh, he, I'm just too tempted to take his pawn on g3 or
Yeah, but you will give him some counter play, right? He will give a check. Then he might
we can play with
play with these two pawns, no? So it will like a equal kind of game. Right?
f6.
Yeah, f6. Just prevent him from coming here. Now he doesn't have that golden move. Anyway, so he went c5, no? And Capablanca now takes the pawn g3, and he plays e4. Now what should Capablanca play?
We go for e5, right?
Yeah, he's threatening to play e5.
e5.
Yeah, so what will you do to prevent that?
If I play rook to e3,
E3, right?
he can still go for the e5.
Yes, yes. But there is like let's say he goes down, he takes, and now g3. Now what is like he has to go back, right? Because it will be mate, right?
Yes.
And this will winning. So he doesn't play this. He plays this move, right? Playing solid. Now what will you do?
Mm, can white do anything?
Yeah, you have to stop all the counterplay. You have to place the simplest move, which wins the game.
Either it's a check on c7 or f5.
G7.
E,
No, no,
c7, c7
no, no.
for white.
You. This is black's move. White played this, na? C4.
Okay,
He
I didn't
he
see the white.
defended his pawn. He doesn't want to play E5 because he will lose his pawn. Like with this variation, he will lose his that pawn. E5,
Hmm,
F takes E5, then G3 because mate threat is there. So here, if you see, mate threat is here. So he has to
okay.
play Rook C1 and then Rook at E5. So better he waits then Rook C4. He defends the pawn simply. Now what will you play?
I'll still go with g3.
Right. Still go with G3. Alright. So here white resign
Resign.
because if he plays this, then he will play this move. And now he is stuck. His rook is stuck here, and white will also take this pawn as well. And this will be like overwhelming, and can't do anything now. And, so looking to this, Stapfer resigned, and Capablanca won the game. So this was an ending played with an economy of style that makes it looks very easy. And as you know, there were many technical things here involved, right? Especially the hook part, where he
Okay.
exploited the hook and he went in on his king side pawns rolling. So yeah, that was it. Let me save the game. how to save this game. Yeah, this was a victory for black. Yeah, yeah. So I hope next time you will also play like Capablanca. You will
I wish
exploit
so.
the hooks in the opponent's position. So this is how the game went. A quick recap. So all the struggle was on the e4 square. No, if you see, yeah, this was the main struggle point. You should be focusing here on the e4 square. So then knight e4, he prevented e4 with this move. Bishop c1 might be need to put his knight here. So he made this move. Then he prevented the bishop g4 move, or knight g4 move. But still, by preventing this, he made a hook for himself, and Capablanca immediately exploited it. Right. So even if you take this, you cannot take this pawn because your knight will be trapped. So he has to take on knight to h2, g4 again exploiting this hook now on h3, no, g4. So here knight e2. So other variations were also not very good. This loses the knight. This was very bad. So knight e2 was there to prevent g3. G
Yeah.
takes h3, g3. No, this was also suicidal. It would have lost the exchange. G3. So yeah. So see here. No. So king h1. So he tries again. Like both people now focus from e4. The battlefield is now on g3. Much nearer to the white's king. The battle was for e4. Now the battle is for g3. See how Capablanca is coming near. You know,
Yes.
d5. So with this plan I really liked of Capablanca. Like when his knight was on f6, he was like thinking about putting his knight from here to d3. Very good plan. Although this didn't came, but it was actually a threat. So that's why it prompted him to get the knight out to bishop g4, and now he exchanges it. So you get it why he didn't exchange it on the previous move, right? Because of this check which was coming. You got it that right? Nixal? Hello?
Haji, sorry. I
Yeah.
was just
So
listening.
you got it right. Why he didn't
Yes.
take bishop takes g4 at this move, and why on the next move?
Yeah.
Anyway, so bishop d2, knight takes a4, bishop a4, g4. So now he gives that. Now he places the rook active, like he. So here see, there was a choice either to keep the knight on d3, but he chose another plan. Like he is now changing his plan, based on the situation.
Yeah.
So rook d3. Rook a1 he had to play because he want to get out of the pin, by queen c3, but he cannot get out straight away because this pawn will fall. So he played rook a1. Now c5, and now Capablanca gives up a pawn. But as you know, like this was just a loan to a friend. Like मैं तुझे आज पैसा देता हूँ तो मुझे बाद में दे देना. Kind of a sacrifice he made. You know? So f3 and now c. So by if you count the pieces, 3, 4, 5, 6 pawns are equal. But let's say he gives up a pawn to go inside more. So now if you see g3 is no longer a point of struggle. Actually now it's g2 and h2. This file is there. Even f3 is a point of struggle now. So it's coming nearer and nearer. Knight g4. So this was a attempt for white to free himself, but he couldn't free himself. Like this knight rook on seventh rank is very powerful. Before he stopped all the counterplay of queen side, and white thought that I will be able to get some counterplay, like by taking all the pawns of black and promoting my own pawn. But this is a good move. So white here thought that I will take this pawn, let him take this pawn, then I will have one more pawn extra. But Capablanca stops this with f7, king g7. So now this, and this. So rook c1 check, rook c1, and now rook g2. So if you know, like if you want to go to g2, this was the quickest way. You cannot play rook c2, and because you are giving a free move to black, to
White.
move to white. Here you gave a check, then you again gave a check, and now you are putting this here. No, now white didn't had when your rook was moving to g2, he didn't had that extra move. So small things like now see, he wants to come here. Let's say you come here and he places the check here, you know, and then he places e4 here. So there is some counterplay here in this line, which won't be available in this line with f6 line. And then take g3 and now play this move. Now he cannot prevent because now g3 is coming. So e5 he cannot play because of this g3. He has to come go back. Even here also, with c4 also g3 is game and game over. Right. So this is how Capablanca played, exploiting of hooks and as well as the seventh rank. He gave up a pawn for seventh rank control. Which move was it at? Yeah, this was the move. He played this here. Insert diagram. Yeah. So while playing c5, he knew. So while playing c5, he knew that black will play this move, threatening pawn takes pawn check, and by this he knew that all this thing. White thought that he won a pawn, but actually there was an extra concept called rook on the seventh rank, which maybe White wasn't very aware of, conscious about it, and that's what Capablanca won the game because of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I hope you will also take advantage of the hooks on G3, H3 in your games, and you will also take advantage like how Capablanca did put your rook on the seventh rank and defeat your opponents, in the next game you play.
Try my best.
Okay, how do I stop the stream? Okay, so that concludes our game for today.
OBS
No?
and stream, YouTube and stream.
OBS and stream.